UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy Star ship has been designed.
Welcome to Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I am your host, Counselor Amy Nelson. And with me, seriously earned her title, Chief Recreational Officer, Ria Papagiorgio.
Good morning, evening, whatever day of the week, month of the year it is, Miss Amy Nelson. Yeah, you know what? I guess that is a fitting title, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Hadn't quite realized that before. Well, it's lovely to see your face after all these 3 days.
Yeah, I know. What, 2 days really? Sunday, Monday? Yeah. So,
of course, it was better to see it in person.
I know. So glad to have that experience. Listeners, we will be talking about the 55-year mission, but we're going to first check our communication array to see if we have any comments from our listeners.
From the Barclay character profile episode, or podcast episode, Christian Alonso writes, I'll be interested in listening. Reg was never my favorite. When watching as a teen, when a Reg episode would come on, I would lose interest. But on my last rewatch, I enjoyed the episode where he saw the creepies in the transporter and when he became the supercomputer. And I always equate myself to him around Zephram Cochrane in First Contact when I'm around the Trek actors. That's funny. Yeah, you know, he never was my favorite either. But I love the supercomputer one.
Yeah.
And
the nth power. That's a good one.
Yes. And the Zephram Cochrane one. Yeah, that's.
Well, Christian, I am exactly like you. I get so tongue-tied. I just watch from afar and say, oh, look, there they are. And we have Ria who just walks right on up and introduces herself. So very impressed. But yeah, I'm like you, Christian. Thanks for your comment.
Yes.
We have another email from Stu.
Woo-hoo!
Stu, thank you so much for writing us. We love reading your emails. And Stu writes, love the discussion on data and emotions in your recent podcast and wanted to add in my own opinions. Data's neural net is adaptive, and he is able to write his own subroutines to enhance his own programming. It's my belief that as his neural net advances and his programming becomes more complex, that as an unwitting self-effect, he could begin to generate emotions by himself without the need for a separate emotion chip. In the interim, perhaps, he does develop coping mechanisms by mimicking to help him interact with his more emotional shipmates. In short, I don't think he starts off feeling emotions, but over time, I think the beginnings of emotions do come through. Stu, that is great. And I absolutely agree that, yes, he's writing these routines. His programming is adaptive and learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Stu nailed it right there.
You know, I was thinking about that last night because the episode with Juliana Taynor was on H&I, and you see all of Data's facial expressions. And I was wondering, I'm like, okay, you know, is he feeling something that's driving these facial expressions, or is this what he has observed other, you know, humanoids, biological life doing? And so he's written that into a subroutine to fake it till he makes it. But yeah, I think you're right on, Stu.
Yeah. All right, Ria, you ready to introduce our guests for today?
Yes, I am.
This is the captain. Senior officers will report to my ready room immediately.
All righty. Well, we have with us Mark White, an avid listener of Galaxy Class and All Good Things. Thank you. Mark, hello. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and a quick little how you got into Trek.
Oh, hey, guys. Pleasure to be on. A little bit about myself. I live in Boston. And I've been a Star Trek fan pretty much as long as I've been able to watch TV. started watching with my dad, who was a big Star Trek fan. When The Next Generation was just starting to air, and obviously grew up watching Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, all the way through. Got into, I guess, TOS really late. Was after I got out of college that I finally decided to check it out. Probably around the time like they stopped making Trek. I was like, well, I haven't seen the original series, so I'll watch that. And same with the animated series. But I definitely do enjoy those in different ways, and I think you can do that with most Trek. It's like sometimes you're in the mood for this type of Trek, sometimes that, and I think that's what's great about the new era of Trek is there's going to be something for everybody.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah. Ria, you want to introduce our next guest?
Let's see. And in the blue corner is eeny, meeny, miny, mo, Mr. Paul Wright.
Hey.
Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into Star Trek.
I'm from Ohio, born and raised. I started watching Star Trek, I think probably my freshman year of high school, either freshman or eighth grade year. I was in a band, and a couple of the people in the band watching Star Trek. I got involved and been doing it I've been watching it ever since. Started out with The Next Generation. I probably started around the 5th season, and just kept on going ever since. Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, and then all the current series. When I was in the military, as a matter of fact, I was on deployment when the 7th season of Deep Space Nine was going on. And I actually missed the last half. And I had to have, it was about a year before I could catch up. I had to have a friend of mine, VHS tape, the last season, the last maybe 10 episodes, and ship them back to me. So I've been hooked.
Wow, that's probably a longer wait than the interim between Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and
definitely.
Part 2.
Definitely.
Awesome.
That's funny. I hope no one spoiler alerted him for you.
Shoot, this was 1999, so really not a lot of internet chatter back then.
Very true.
And we have with us Mike Richards. Mike, hello. You started listening to us when we were on Earl Grey over on Trek FM.
I did. I've been following Amy Nelson and Ria around for years. I used to be involved with Trek FM, and Earl Grey as an associate producer with Standard Orbit. And I have since moved on from that network, and I'm following on UPF, which is UFP. Which is great. I grew up with Star Trek when I was a little kid, 3, 4, 5 years old. They were already in syndication. My brother and older sister were big fans, and after dinner every night we'd bust into the TV room, turn on Channel 11 in New York, and just kind of watch and see which episode it was going to be. And it was like unwrapping a Christmas present. If it was a good episode, it was great. If it was not a good episode, we knew we were going to have a lot of fun that night, just kind of riffing on it, which was so much fun. As a little kid, it was a great action adventure kind of show, and definitely an opportunity to just have some fun with it. As I got older, I watched Next Gen first run. Remember watching the series premiere. Same thing with Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, all the way through the new ones. So just love it. Everything from original series, animated series. I'll just keep going with animated series and say Lower Decks. I think it's all fun. And now that I'm older, and now that I've got a professional life and a family, it's gone from action adventure to just teaching me how to be a better human. There's a lesson in every episode I can take away, and those are the kind of things that I love talking about, and it inspires me. And when I was a little kid, I got to see people that looked like me do things that inspired me. And now that I'm much, much older, I see that the show is very much inclusive of people that look very different from me, inspiring people who look differently than I do to do great things also. And I could not be more proud of my fandom for that reason.
Yay. Although we're still waiting for some Greek characters. But And then I see, is that a Enterprise hoodie that you have on right now?
That is, I like Enterprise.
Nice.
I think obviously, like many people, there's a lot more I think they could have done with that show had it run its full intended length. But I kind of loved that sort of transition from things that are more familiar, like kind of a NASA, the right stuff kind of feel, to something more like what we saw in the original series and beyond from there. So yeah, I love Enterprise, and it holds up great. It's high def, it's widescreen. It's just a phenomenal show. If you haven't watched in a while, you're not a big fan, I would encourage you to try again.
And all three of you are first timers to a Star Trek convention. Is that correct?
And how did that happen, guys?
Talk us into it.
Well, I think there's one thing probably in common, and she's hosting the podcast. But when I was doing a patrons roundtable a couple of years ago, you asked me if I had been, and this was pre-2020, so that was the next one coming. And on a podcast, Amy Nelson got me to commit to attending Star Trek Las Vegas, aka the 55-year mission. So I did, and it was I had to move some things around to get out there, but could not be happier. I was not prepared for what I encountered, and I want to maybe circle back to that.
Yeah.
Let everybody else go, but I was not prepared.
The reason I went to my first Star Trek convention was also A1 Miss Amy Nelson. Just saying.
That's right. I forgot, Ria. You came
So
into
did I.
19, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah. All right, Paul.
Yeah, well, for me, it was a lifelong dream to go to this Star Trek convention ever since it first started. I was planning to go in 2016, which was the 50th, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't make it work. I always had something going on the first weekend of August. I always had something, so I couldn't make it work. But then, 2020 came around, and after being stuck at home for 18 months, as soon as it opened up, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do it. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to go to this one. I know it's going to be reduced. I know it's not an official convention anymore. I know there's going to be a bunch of COVID concerns, but I had my vaccination and I was determined to go, and I did. And it's one of the best decisions I ever made because it was an awesome weekend. It was an absolutely awesome weekend. I met great people. Everybody was so accepting. It was just a great time.
I got to say, it worked out well for me too, because you did a great job packlid sitting on a number of occasions.
Oh, too hard on yourself. We were packlids together.
Hey, it's all good.
All right, Mark, this is your first convention. What do you think?
Yeah, this is my first convention. When I was I was in high school. There was one in southern Maine, and I think there was like 2 Star Trek actors that went to it. One of them being Robert Picardo. I had my parents drive me down to that. It was just a tiny little Trek convention. It was a blast for me. I just remember how excited I was. And then, as an adult, it's definitely something that I'd thought about doing, but hadn't really made the time for. I think the pandemic essentially made it more important to participate in. During the pandemic, I would get together with other people, other Star Trek fans, and we would Zoom call. Amy was a part of that. And everybody was talking about how much fun STLV is. And I was convinced very quickly that I should participate this time around once everything opens back up. So I guess Amy kind of brought everybody in, if you think about it. And for me, I went into it with the idea that the biggest part was going to be the people. The biggest part was going to be being there around other people, socializing, having fun, making new friends, seeing old friends. And in that regard, I definitely was not disappointed. It was awesome.
And then what I think is super cool is, did you not have a wedding in the middle of the convention?
I did have a wedding.
It's so nuts.
One of my best friends, he a few years ago ended up moving out to Southern California, and him and his fiance, they had been sort of wondering when they were going to get married, and they looked into getting married locally, and they found out they were going to have to hire like somebody to be a witness because they didn't know anybody out there. And I had, told them, hey, I was going to be like 5 hours away in Las Vegas. And they said, would it be okay if we, meet up with you? And I said, yeah, I'm more than okay. Like, I love you guys. And they said, okay, we'll make a trip over. And by the way, we're going to get married and we want you and your partner to be witnesses. And I was just like, that's amazing. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So I did, it was Sunday morning. We got up and we went to the wedding, and obviously it was at the Little Chapel of the West, and Elvis got them married, and we did that. And went from there, went back to the convention, ran in, and I got pictures taken with Mary Wiseman and her husband, Noah, and did that. And then after that, did some pool time. And then after that, back to the convention. So like the whole day was pretty jam-packed and a lot of fun.
That's so cool.
Indeed. All the days get pretty jam-packed. And
Yes.
I was thinking of just sort of running through each day, and I have my packet here. So I have the program here. I just thought I would sort of go over which actors were there, and then you guys tell me about the day. So Wednesday was the very first day. The first panel was Discovery, and there were some people that I'm not quite sure that I know everyone. David Benjamin Tomlinson, Janet Kidder, Patrick Kwok-Chun, Tara Rosling. And then we had a John Champion did a in memoriam, that word, because it's Gene Roddenberry's 100th. Then there was a guest star panel with Kim Rhodes, Joseph Gatt, Lee Ehrenberg, Rhoda Aldrich, and Ursuline Bryant. And then the last panel for Wednesday was the Discovery Klingons, Mary Chieffo, Kenneth Mitchell, and Shazad Latif. So what are your recollections from Wednesday?
Wait, Shazad was there?
He wasn't there. He canceled.
Okay.
Oh,
He was one of the late cancellations.
A late cancellation. Yes. Thank you.
Okay,
There are a
good.
few
My
of
heart
those.
is unbroken now. Well, I wasn't there Wednesday, so no
So
recollection.
I didn't get in. I had to make last minute plans. I thought I was going to be able to go. Unable to go. However, I was able to get there for the weekend, and it was great. Now, Mary Chieffo, since you brought her up, is a gift to both Kronos and Planet Earth. She is awesome. She was out there. She absolutely owned everything she did. Hosted panels, hosted events, hosted the cosplay contest, and it was just absolutely wonderful to be around. As far as insights to Wednesday in particular, sadly, I wasn't there.
I remember Chase being really good for the convention kickoff. And the I don't think I went to the guest stars one, but the Discovery Klingons was really good. Yeah. Oh, and that was the one with Kenneth Mitchell. Oh, he gave a heart-wrenching
Well, he was on a couple times
talk. Yeah.
because, in fact, so Wednesday I came straight from school and I did catch that panel. That was the first panel I caught. And you are right, Paul. I mean, I was in tears and
right.
Go ahead.
Did you have any idea he was that deteriorated that he had
Yes, because I saw him on the cruise, and he had started using his voice recorder.
That broke my heart. I had no idea he was that. He had lost the use of his voice.
Yeah, but he was so funny because Ian Spelling was the moderator. And so Kenneth Mitchell comes rolling out, and then he's like, I have pre-recorded answers, so you're just going to get what you get. And so a question would come up and then some random answer. It was so perfect. Just totally Ken. Absolutely. Yeah. Loved him. And the relationship between Mary and Ken is just amazing. Wonderful.
Oh,
Well, I mean, she is his mother, right?
Yeah, and he referenced that too.
Yeah. And his
Yeah.
son came up on stage. Kenneth Mitchell's son came up. Oh my gosh, it was just, and one of the questions was asked or something like, not like, how do you like your dad? But I mean, that's a stupid question, but it was something like, something like that.
It was,
Are you
aren't,
proud of your dad
yeah,
or
aren't
something
you
like
proud
that?
of your dad? I think that's what
yeah.
it said.
And he's like,
He's
or
like,
yeah, what are you proud of your dad for? And he was like, well, that he's alive. And I'm like,
live.
you can't beat that. My goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Okay. I don't get emotional, right?
Mhm.
So the first day I was there, I got a picture with him, and he pushed a little button on his computer and he said, "Can I get a hug?" Me hug people? Come on, that doesn't happen, right? I'm like, hell yes, I'm going to give him a hug. And he was just skin and bone, and like I almost lost it. I had to, compose myself because it's just amazing how fast.
Yeah.
That disease runs its course.
When I saw him on the cruise, that's when that shock hit me. So I can imagine if you didn't see him, before then, that's serious. One thing I just have to credit him and Mary as well, just their personality and their perspective and outlook on life, because it was asked to Kenneth, like, what did you learn about yourself, or what's a quality that you admire that you found through isolation and quarantine? And his response was gratitude. And he is the most grateful person. And that just makes him more humble and approachable and just so generous. He's so grateful for everything. And I'm like, okay, again, sort of Mike, what you were saying, like, what does Trek teach us? I mean, here we have these actors just being so grateful and showing me how I can be better.
So if I can jump in for just a second, I mean, number one, ALS is just a horrible disease. One of my best friends was actually a professional baseball player. He went on to become an airline pilot. It got him, and a couple of years later, he was just a shell, just a shadow of his former self. And the disease is undefeated, which is even more heartbreaking. But everything I thought I could learn from like episodes of Star Trek, and I might be kind of cutting to the chase here a little bit, I was able to learn that tenfold at this convention, just from the people involved in the production, from the actors and how they treated everybody around them with grace and humility and compassion. The diversity there, our big push at our company right now is diversity and inclusion. This is a 400 level course. Honestly, it's probably a PhD level course in diversity and inclusion. So I'm going to try to get my company to pay for me to go next year, because I think it'll be worth it.
I just want to pop in. It's really interesting that we're talking about gratitude right now, because I was thinking all day about. I didn't know what we would be talking about. I figured to be pretty free form, but I wanted to have some things thought about beforehand. And so I was taking notes, and one of the things I wrote down under the first impressions headline about this convention was a sense of gratitude. And I thought about that in regard to everybody I came in contact with, myself. There was this overwhelming feeling at this particular convention. I haven't been to other ones. I don't know if it's the same, but of gratitude. I think, maybe it's because we've all been, under lockdown for the last year and a half. But just everybody was so grateful to be there. And yeah, a lot of people did cancel, but there was a lot of people that did show, and everybody was just really grateful for the people that did show and to be there amongst each other.
There were many times when people would come up to the mic to ask a question and just would always start out, "We're so glad and grateful that you didn't cancel." Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the people that did cancel, I mean, Jerry Ryan canceled because they're filming Picard and she's under COVID protocols. Okay. Right. I mean, I think that's a fair enough reason. But you were saying earlier, Mark, about what got you through the pandemic was a lot of these kind of Star Trek, video calls and all that. And it's funny because I went the other way and fully embraced lockdown and isolation and loved every minute of it, and came to learn that I don't really like the electronic communication. I'm more of a face-to-face person. And so being at the convention and seeing and bear hugging everyone. Sorry, David Takechi, I didn't mean to keep trying to hug you. But yeah, that was just like...
He's just so little and cute, though. I mean, you just want to give the guy a hug.
Awesome. Okay, so Thursday, we had a DS9 panel start us off. James Darren, Sirach Lofton. Was Armin there? Or did he? Okay. Armin Shimmerman, Robert O'Reilly, and Andy Robinson. Then we had, was Dina Meyer there? From the movie? And Greg Grunberg.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Then, Shora Agadashlu. She was there from Beyond. I really was sad to miss that because that was in the day. I was still working. Then there was a Voyager guest panel. Bunch of people I didn't know. Then we had George Takei.
Always a good one.
And then we had some TOS guest stars. And then we had Women of Trek. Was that Denise Crosby?
Yeah.
Was Terry Farrell there?
No. I think Nikki DeBoer.
So Thursday, I don't know what happened, but I didn't get there till later.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you kind of had to work.
I was working all day. Mark, did you go to any panels on Thursday? I think you had a couple pool days.
I had one. I had one full pool day, and that was Thursday.
Yeah, that was Thursday. I remember.
But it was
right,
it was
Paul.
lovely.
The only one I went to was the DS9 panel, and I went to the George Takei panel. I think I had other stuff going on.
Other stuff. And listeners, just
I'm only reading
that was in the main theater. We've got other theaters that's nonstop, different types of panels. I'm just doing the main theater, but yeah, there's the D. Kelly Theater, the Roddenberry Stage, and stuff going on.
So,
because there was actually one Thursday I wanted to go to in the D. Kelly Theater, and then, true to form, didn't find the D. Kelly Theater until it was too late.
Was that the Muhammad Noor one?
Yes, but I
love
caught up
him.
with him afterwards. Oh yes, he's so cool.
Yeah.
And and bought his book. I can't wait to read it.
Oh, good.
I would have loved to catch that Deep Space Nine one because I just Paul, I feel for you, man. I've watched Deep Space Nine all the way through 3. I think this was my 3rd time. Once original run and then 2 full series rewatches.
I've seen it at least 3 times myself.
Yeah, and if I had gotten, if I had gotten to 10 episodes left and couldn't see the rest, I don't know what I would have done. That must have been awful for you because I watched those last 9 episodes in 2 nights a week ago and was just devouring anything Deep Space Nine at this convention because it was what it was most recent in my mind. So would have loved to catch that on Thursday. Like I said, sadly, I didn't get there until Saturday.
I did get there Thursday, like in the morning. And of course, the first thing I did was sprint to the Roddenberry Theater to say hi to the ever elegant John Champion before he went on for the morning show. But yeah, then I didn't go to a single panel that day just because I was so excited to be there and running around the vendors room and saying hi to everybody.
Yeah, when I came to the Rio, I found you in the vendors room. And I had asked, and you're like, yeah, I haven't been to any panels. I'm like, oh, okay. The vendors room is fun. I mean, that's where the actors are and, a lot of people.
You're like, yeah. Because in the main theater, it's dark. You can't see who's there.
And you're not chit-chatting.
Yeah.
No, you're sitting down and paying attention. And that's not my strength.
I think that the one that I went to that day was the Rick Sternbach Voyager at 25 panel. Thing that was in the D. Kelly Theater. That was really cool because they had quite a lot of unseen like production photos from just the design aspect of how they came up with the Voyager ship, and then obviously like the little shuttlecraft, and then the Delta Flyer and that kind of thing. And they took you through every stage of the design of the concepts of the different ships and stuff. And that was really cool and really interesting.
Rick Sternbach is an absolute prince. I had a chance to chat with him for about an hour during happy hour on Saturday night. We were kind of standing at the same high top bar table, watching Chase Masterson's concert, and was introduced to him, and we chatted for an hour about TV, about Star Trek, about model building, about movie props, about rocketry, space exploration, what he's working on now, which is a actual ship proposal. He's working with NASA engineers and other aerodynamicists on how to actually build a ship that would get to Mars. So it was a fascinating conversation.
I have tried, I'm not even going to lie, for 3 conventions. So the past 4 years to meet and talk to Rick Sternbach. He is like a really good friend of one of my best friends from high school that does the model building and stuff like that. And every time my friend Dan, who doesn't listen, by the way, Dan sends me a picture with him and Rick. Guess who's here visiting me? I'm like, oh. And so I'm like, okay, this is the year I'm going to meet him. And I did not. And now, Mike, to hear you say that, oh, I was talking with him for an hour and on Saturday night when I was with you Saturday night, but you never introduced me to Rick Sternbach.
I'm not going to lie. I feel really bad right now. I kind of wish I had ran and got you at this point.
Yeah, man. Well, there's always next time, right?
Yeah, maybe I'll introduce you next year.
Thank you.
I mean, you've got an in now, Amy.
Is Rick on Twitter? Because somebody needs to let him know that there's been this, egregious offense that he hasn't met Miss Amy Nelson yet. We need to fix that.
Yes.
He probably knows my name from my friend who's always talking to me. You don't know Amy Nelson? She's a huge Trek fan.
He gave me a card. He has sort of a limited social media and internet presence. He did have an eBay store that I think has sort of is sort of in limbo right now, but he's thinking about starting it back up and redoubling his efforts there. But yeah, I think there's a market for, anything he has, really.
Yeah. He's like I said, my friend Dan gave me one of his like legal sized flyer pamphlet thing, and with all of his designs, the tricorders from TNG and DS9 and Voyager. I absolutely loved it. And yeah, so that's why I'm like, I want to talk to him and say, look, you signed this for me. All right. Well, Friday, things get a little busier. In the main theater, we had another Discovery panel with Conrad Coates, Jane Brooke, which I wanted to meet, and Julianne Grossman, and Oded Fair. Don't talk to me about that because I will be very upset. Then there was a Vorta panel with Jeffrey Coombs. Was he there? Kitty Swink,
Yes.
Caitlin Hopkins, and Molly Hagan. Then we had Walter Koenig. Was he there?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, he was.
Was he there, Paul?
He was.
Yeah, I think Ria can confirm he was there at the convention.
Oh,
As
yes,
Paul is
that's
my witness.
right. I can't wait for that story.
It's
was
definitely
John
going to come out.
Delancey there? Yeah.
John Delancey was not
Right.
there.
No.
Yeah. So listeners, the reason why I'm asking, number one, because I wasn't there during the day, and like the program, it was printed, but we had some last minute cancellations. Then there was Ben Vereen, who was there. Then there was a Roddenberry presentation for their archives, which was Rod Roddenberry, the Akutas. Then we have What Shakespeare Leaves Behind. I don't even know what that was, but it's with Casey Biggs and Jeffrey
It was
Holmes.
it was a Shakespearean performance by those two. They were reading some of Shakespeare's favorite famous plays.
Oh.
It was pretty cool.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So yeah, talk to me about Walter, Ria.
Well, Paul could fill in the details better than I can, but that was it Friday evening? I think it was actually. I think it was that evening.
I think it was either Thursday
it might have been
or Friday.
Yeah, you know,
Was it when you first got here?
Evening.
Yeah, that was Thursday.
It was whatever the day before his photo op.
Yeah, so that was Thursday.
Okay. So we were at the Masquerade Bar and just hanging out, you know, just having a good time. And this, it was Thursday because it was the day of the Field of Dreams game in Iowa. Yep. And where the White Sox hosted the New York Yankees. And so anyway, Paul and I are just hanging out, and this, you know, older gentleman comes up to us and asks us if we happen to know the score of the Yankees game. He had a Yankees jacket on and whatever. And I, you know, might have expressed that I'm not a Yankees fan.
Vehemently.
And
vehemently?
Succinctly.
Okay.
Let's just say succinctly. Okay. Which sparked a conversation with just this random man that asked us the score. Of course, Paul's being a good human being and looking up the score. And the Yankees lost, and I expressed my pleasure in that. And
you walked away all sad.
You didn't walk away all sad. We had a little conversation. There's reasons why the Yankees and I are not friends. And at one point, he asked me my name. I said Ria. I said, "What's your name?" He said Walter, and he had a mask on and a hat.
Totally unrecognizable.
Totally unrecognizable. He said Walter, and I looked in his eyes, and I'm like, "Oh shit." I think I said that out loud too. And I said, do I have a photo shoot with you tomorrow? And he said, yeah, probably.
That's the best story I think I've heard today. That is
I didn't hear that because of the mask. He walks away. And I was like, who was that? Walter Kennedy. It's like, no way. Oh my goodness.
But then, so the next day, I was actually kind of running a little later than I wanted to get, you know, down to the con because his photo shoot was pretty early. Get all the way down there, realize I'd left my ticket up in the room. So I'm like racing all the way back to the Masquerade Tower. And as I'm about to get on the elevator, who walks off? Some gentleman in a stupid Yankees jacket. And he looks at me and he's like, "You're the one that hates Steinbrenner." And as I'm getting on the elevator, I'm like, "I don't hate Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner hates me." And then I ran into him later, like on the way, and go by him, and I'm like, "Go White Sox!"
Oh, so. Man, you're gonna get banned.
We did get a funny picture together. So when I stepped into the booth, he like recoiled in disgust. But yeah, whoops.
Now, Mark, you've had some run-ins. You stood in line getting coffee almost every morning, right?
Oh my God, that line, because they have two Starbucks there, but one of them was closed. And so like every day I'd be standing in the line, like waiting for coffee. And I noticed, I think the first day that John Billingsley was there. And obviously, like, I'm like, not going to say anything. Like, I haven't even had my coffee. He hasn't had his coffee. I'm not going to talk to him. And so, you know, each day I get my coffee. He's at various parts of the line. We seem to, you know, go there at the same time. And it wasn't until the last day, actually it was Monday, I think, the day we were leaving, everybody else had already cleared out and there was like no line at the Starbucks, but still we were there. And this time we were next to each other, and I get my coffee, and I order mine. I'm waiting for her to pick it up, and then he just gets like just a regular coffee, and I get mine. Finally, he gets his. We're gonna walk away at the same time, and so I just kind of look over at him, and I'm like, "Line's a lot shorter today," and he's like, "Always is on Monday. It's like whoosh," and I said, "Well, I hope you have a great day," and he's like, "You too." And that was it. But, you know, I didn't want to be all heavy handed about it and be all fanboy and whatever, but I did want to say something to him and acknowledge that I knew who he was. So John was super, super sweet. Very nice. He had a big smile on his face. So
yeah, he's
a really big denobulin smile.
Yeah, not that big.
Awesome. All right. And Saturday, another big day. There was the cosplay parade, which is always a treat. We had a friend. Well, I've always had friends in there, but we had a special friend, Robert, dressed up in Q. And man, his whole presence was just spectacular. I was very, very happy for him. He was just, having a great time. So then after that, we had a great behind the scenes with the Akutas, Mike and Denise, and then David Livingston, which I was so happy to see. Ronald B. Moore, which is not Ronald D. Moore.
I was very disappointed.
I'm sitting next to Mark and he's like, that's not Ronald D. Moore. And I said, well, it's Ron Moore. And then I had to ask, and they're like, no, it's B as in boy, not D as in dog. And so, that was the whole first 10 minutes.
I was like, look at that. They introduced that guy. I'm like, that is not Ronald D. Moore. Like, I was showing her pictures.
Clearly, you skipped the closing credits of Next Gen, Amy, because his name is on every episode.
Me too,
of the closing credits.
I know, but it was just so funny because Mark was like, Ronald D. Moore he's describing his physical characteristics. That is not Ronald D. Moore.
And Ronald B. Moore is a much older,
a little heavier,
mostly bald, kind of maybe some hair around the sides, kind of thing, a little heavier. No beard, right? No beard. And he said people will walk up to him with a picture of Ronald B. Moore, like a headshot, and say, "Can you sign this?" And he's like, "Sure."
Yep.
Yeah, he signs it the other Ronald, I think.
Funny.
Oh, funny.
Not the only one, it seems like.
Yeah, and Rick Sternbach was on that panel, so I got to see Rick there. And then after that panel, because then I wanted to go see Rick, but then William Shatner came on. And I have a lot to say about that. Then Kelsey Grammer came for his, 2 minutes of TNG, whatever. That annoys me, but I will move on. Then there was Mark Alimo, Gary Graham, Casey Biggs, Vaughn Armstrong. Was Robin Curtis there? Yeah, I think she was.
She was there. Yeah.
And
Max
Credential.
Credential.
And then we had Behind the Music with Dennis McCarthy. And so talk to me about Saturday, guys. I was in the theater the whole day, so I think I saw everything.
Well, if I can jump in, being my first day, I got off a plane, grabbed a yellow cab, was not going to wait for Uber. Got to the hotel. They actually had my room ready when I got there at about 9:45 in the morning. Went upstairs, threw my bags away, came down the elevator, and Mark Alimo got on the elevator next to me. And he was with, I'm assuming his wife, and it was kind of crowded. And I was like, I do not want to ambush you, but I could listen to you read the phone book. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, your monologuing on Deep Space Nine is some of the best TV I've ever seen, let alone just an episode of Star Trek. And he goes, you're darn right it is. And he kind of looked at his wife like, see, they know who I am.
That is awesome.
So that was great. So then I went straight to the behind the scenes with Ronald B. Moore, Rick Sternbach, Mike and Denise Akuta, David Livingston. And I saw Amy Nelson go up there and ask a question. And I said, here's my in. I'm finally going to get to meet her. So she did. You asked a question. And then I stayed for William Shatner and the other folks. But that first panel really set a nice tone of just kind of how nice and casual and approachable and sort of, for lack of a better word, sort of the intimacy that you'd expect for the rest of the time, with the people that you meet. And it was fantastic. So that's how Saturday started for me. It just jumped right in there. And then I, like you, stayed. I noticed that hall got more and more full the closer to the end of the behind the scenes got, because people were kind of trying to get in there and get their spot for Shatner.
So what question did Miss Amy Nelson ask? I didn't know you asked a question.
Yeah, I have been to conventions since 14. I mean, and I just stay by myself. I don't want to, I'm a fangirl and I see, but they were talking, and the Kudas, they're responsible for the L cars and stuff like that. And every time students turn in a PowerPoint presentation, the smart ones find the Trek theme for their PowerPoint because they want to, brown nose and get extra credit, which they do because it's Star Trek. So I was interested to know if they had any part in designing that theme for PowerPoint, and they didn't, but I was courageous and I went up and asked a question.
Their answer was really cool.
Awesome.
I know, they sort of looked at me like, what in the heck is this question?
Well, they went off kind of on a tangent after that and just talked about the various places they've been in their life where they've bumped into LCARs. And I thought that was really interesting. And it got to be fun for them to see it pop up in different places. Like they said, one of them was like ESPN or something like this was the sports network. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Mike said it was clear that whoever designed the Southwest Airlines board was a Star Trek fan. And I mean, I don't know anything about Southwest Airlines myself, but
if you did,
I'll have to take his word for it.
Yeah. And Shatner, I must say, we all know I'm not a big TOS fan. And Shatner has rubbed me the wrong way with some of his comments. But man, was he on fire. And freaking, he's 90 years old. He was walking around the stage, and that stage is not small. And he's going from one end to the other. He's attentive. He's listening and asking people's name and even having a conversation. And then at the end, well, hey, thanks, James, for your question. Like, he even remembered their names at the end of the conversation, which I can't even do that at the end of the period. My first week teaching school, he was so alert and bright, and he made connections like to the world and how we interact with it. Like the whole thing with the trees and the fungi and, the mycelial network. Like, he was really getting into this Star Trek conversation on what it is to be a part of this earth, this community, and how we treat each other. It really was the best Shatner I've ever seen.
He seemed
there was a lot to like about that.
Interested,
Go ahead, Mark.
In who people were, not just like their question. Like, he would ask them a question too, a little bit about themselves. He wanted to know each person's story, and a lot of people got really shy and didn't know how to respond, and he keep digging at him until he found, like, okay, who is this other human being in front of me asking a question? And I was like, oh, that's really like something special. It's not just a random person. Like, he's having an interaction with another human and trying to make it special for them as well. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, he did. He definitely showed that he cared, gave the impression that he wanted to be there, that he wanted to hear the questions and genuinely answer each person individually and give them the time that he thought that they deserved. So, and you're right, that was not a small stage, and he was walking back and forth because they were alternating microphone left and right. And I think at one point he sat down about halfway and answered a question
for
sitting
like
down
1
with the
minute,
microphone in
and
his
then
hand.
he got right back up again.
I certainly would have done that. Sure, absolutely. But 90 years old, God
and then
love
he
him.
danced his way off stage at the end when the Roddenberrys played the TJ Hooker music.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I love the Shat. So yeah, I want to be like that when I'm 90, but different shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him a couple of years ago host a screening of a Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And it was a movie, and then followed by his recollection of it, and basically sort of just his stand-up that he's refined over the years. But it was just so much fun. Really, really worth going. If you haven't had a chance to see him, or if you don't necessarily relate to the original series, I would give that a shot as well if you get a chance to.
I hope he lives like another 90 years at least.
Also, at the end of Saturday, they had the gala, which the Nevada Pops came. We had Anthony Rapp sing some of his show tunes to us. We had Isis Briones sing to us. Oh my gosh, I was crying. Both of them made me cry. Then we had the Nevada Pops and Dennis McCarthy come out and play some theme music, some soundtracks from the movies. We didn't hear the Voyager theme song, which is sort of my favorite, but that's okay. I heard lots of TNG, but then some people call that TOS, but in my heart, it's TNG. But the gala was a very nice event.
Yeah, I could see how people could mistakenly call the Jerry Goldsmith penned theme to the motion picture, the TOS, something from TOS and not TNG.
I won't weigh in on that one at this point, but
so I didn't get to go to the gala because I had a general admission ticket, and I hung out most of the day following those morning events at the Roddenberry Interactive Stage. And fun game.
Did you go to the match game?
I did. Fun game of match game.
Yes.
Yeah. Great folks in there. Star Trek celebrities playing the panel, and a couple of people as contestants. John Champion hosting the thing. Just a bunch of fans. Somewhere in there in the where was it? I forget. It was in the vendor room, right? Where where I met up with Ria, and she. I can definitely see why she's called the chief recreation officer. So.
Oh no! What was I doing?
That was a lot of fun. Well, what happened was since I just watched Deep Space Nine, I wanted to go meet Nicole DeBoer. And I walked in, and you and I were chatting, and then you went over to her, gave her a big hug, chatted with her for a couple of minutes. I was a little nervous and, shy being my first convention. And you just kind of broke the ice and said, Nicole, take care of this guy. So she just started talking to me, and it was great. I loved it. We got a great picture together, and nice. It was just phenomenal. So thank you for being such a great ambassador and chief recreation officer.
Can I say my Nicole story? This is the only time I spoke to a famous person. In part, I was outside, and for this year, because of COVID, they had the picture tent outside. And so she was walking back into the convention, and I was talking to Jason Anderson. Hi, Jason. And we were just talking by the doors, and she stopped to talk to us. And she's like, are either of you a local? Wow. And I said, yeah, I live here. And she's like, how do you live here? It's so hot. Okay. First of all, it wasn't that hot. It was only like 102. It's usually much, much warmer. So she approached and started talking to us, and I was totally fine. I mean, I was a little fangirling. I've seen her a lot though, but she approached us, had a lovely conversation, talked to us about, her quarantine and of course the weather. And then we're like, oh, well, you probably got things to do, so we'll let you go. I mean, we sort of excused her, but she just was so wonderful.
That's the first time I'd met her, and she just seems so incredibly approachable and is like genuinely interested in talking to people, and has a crazy Canadian sense of what's warm or not. But yeah, she just seems super cool.
Yeah, she was the only person I really wanted to meet. I pre-purchased a photo op with her, and I got a signature from her, and I told her, hey, I fell in love with you for the first time that you were on screen. And she stood up and gave me a big hug, and that just made my whole convention.
That's funny, Paul, because I had a very similar, like I said, I just got done, rewatching, finishing up season 7. And, the first time or two that I watched the series, I certainly didn't have any negative feelings, but I thought, well, did we really need to replace Dax? Do we really just kind of need this character? And this time through, absolutely, we did need that character. We needed somebody to come in and kind of show us the wonder and the awe and the newness, and kind of what it would be like for somebody who's hasn't trained for this their whole life to be in that situation, right? That's us. That's the total point of view character that you can relate to,
right?
And it was phenomenal, and she did such a great job at it. And I just wanted to tell her that, and she was so nice about it.
Well, then later that evening, Mike, you hooked me up big time, because I didn't know that. Okay, because I, after day one, quit carrying the program around.
You didn't go to anything in it, so.
Well, you know what? I just see now for the first time that the wine tasting was in the program. So, Paul, I'm sorry for the nasty things I said to you about not letting me know ahead of time about the wine tasting.
So
it was in the program. Shame on me.
This was so funny. Ria and I have been, we got introduced a while back through the podcast, and we met in real life for the first time in the vendor's room. So we were kind of hanging around, and we'll meet you up later, and what are you doing later, and those kind of things. So as this nucleus of people kind of starts to grow, I ran into a guy, and he was cosplaying with a group of folks, and he had on what kind of looked like a pretty generic original series captain's uniform, but it was dirty. And then when I looked closer at him, it had kind of like a rectangular logo there instead of the what was originally the Starship Enterprise Delta. And I looked at him, I walked, and I said, "Are you Captain Ron Tracy from the Omega Glory?" And he went, pointed at his nose and pointed at me and said, "You're the first guy to get that." And he said, "Everybody thinks I'm Matt Decker." And I said, "No, Matt Decker wasn't dirty. He was just unkempt. Ron Tracy was dirty." So we laughed, and he had 3 or 4 people that he was hanging around with. So then us and Ria, and then we met up with Paul and a couple of other people. So this started to grow. This all really kind of coalesced at the wine and cheese happy hour at the Roddenberry stage, which turned into Chase Masterson's concert, which turned into Ria hooking us up with after party access. I'll just leave it at that. And then we went to the Masquerade Bar. So Saturday was a phenomenal day from beginning to end.
That was a blast. I think I'd gone to take a nap or something and was coming back down when I ran into you, Mike, and you had just left the wine tasting, I think. But yeah, we went back to the Roddenberry stage, and the Roddenberries, the band, were starting to warm up. And I mean, at first it was just, this group of us that had coalesced and had a couple drinks, and this band's, warming up, and we're starting to dance. But then who was it? Like they started to kick us out, right?
Yeah. So somebody came around and said, so John Champion said, you always have a place to hang out in here. Everything in here is general admission. That's the point. We want something, a place for everybody to be able to go at all times. So we have this, we have the concert later, we have the after party. And I even said to him, I think the after party is gold and
captain
higher,
Captain's
gold
level.
and captain level.
Captains.
And he said, no, it's not. So when we were hanging around after Chase Masterson's concert, somebody started going around and saying, "Hey, are you gold or captain? And we said, no. And she said, "Well, you got to go." And we were like, "But do we?" And
we said, "No, we don't."
And they said, "No, we don't." So we stayed and we had a great time. But funny enough, John Champion had a hard time getting back in the room, had to talk his way back in to the Roddenberry interactive stage, and Rod had a hard time getting back in. He had to talk his way back in also. So whatever person who I think may have been most I'll say well-intentioned, but maybe ill-informed and overzealous was they weren't going to let Rod back in. And I think that's so funny, but he did. And God bless him. That man was really, really great to be around and impressive and very, very graceful.
That's oh gosh, and the band was awesome. Like
that was,
I don't know, I had so much fun on the dance floor.
So much fun.
Yes.
But great music.
Saturday was definitely a good day.
Yeah, great music, good dancing. Everybody out there.
It was packed.
There's the one. Yeah, it was packed on the dance floor, and it didn't matter. I mean, it was panelists, TV celebrities, behind the scenes people, guests, first timers like me. Everybody was out there. Everybody dancing together. So much fun. I mean, no egos, no friction at all. It was just a great time.
Oh yeah.
And that was really the part that I kind of wanted to circle back to. I was prepared for Star Trek and, sort of those lessons and maybe talking about infinite diversity and infinite combinations and things like that, like all of kind of the Trek stuff. First of all, I had no idea what the demographics would be like when we got there. And it was so much more like balanced and well-rounded. The cosplayers came in all walks. And here's the catch. I had no idea how hard of a partying group this was. I mean, it was fantastic. And I was there basically for Saturday night and limped home.
Every night was like
and
that.
Limped home. And Paul Wright and Mark, you were there 5 nights.
In the beginning.
And I don't know how you survived that. No wonder you needed a pool day, Mark. And it was so much fun. But the panels were great. The meeting the folks and getting to hang out with you at the Masquerade Bar at the wine and cheese, at the after party. That's what it was all about.
Heck
Right.
yeah.
I met people. I mean, I knew you guys, but there were people that I met that I'd never met before that, I just met there, and they just welcomed me into their group, and we hung out for most of the convention. We had breakfast together. It was awesome.
And by
Mhm.
the end, like Sunday, I'm hanging out with you, Paul, or there's Saturday, and like people walk by and everyone's like, "Hey, Paul," and Paul's like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "How do you know these people?" I'm all getting jealous that Paul knows more people than me, and it's like, you just got
we
here.
figured out
I know
make
it's
friends out
so
there.
easy to
Seymour
make
was not
friends.
participating this year.
Amy, it's not that they didn't know you;
Yeah.
they were just
I finally
intimidated by
learned.
you and afraid to say hi. They were
They didn't
fanboying
want to
on you.
fangirl
Yeah.
out. Yeah. That's so funny. Well, so I've been back home for, I don't know, a couple, 3 days, whatever, and I'm still recovering big time. And people have asked me, "Oh, so how was that Star Trek thing you went to? Was it all geeky? Was it all nerdy?" I'm like, no. First of all, these people know how to party. But I've got to thinking about it, and it's like, all right, I went to my first ever con 2 years ago by myself, not knowing anybody, meet these people like day one, and in the 2 years since, like, who do I talk to the most? In a given week, it's my Star Trek people.
That's the truth. That is the truth. I'm talking to my Star Trek friends head and shoulders above anyone else. I mean,
Yeah.
socially. Yeah. Well, let's just run down through Sunday, the last day, usually a little bit lighter. We had, who did we have? I was not awake too much Sunday. Was the
You
Picard
had,
panel?
the
I'm
Picard
sure
panel.
Issa.
Yeah.
Michelle Hurd did a
Picard panel.
So
virtual
Jonathan-
greeting,
She
and
did. She
Jonathan
zoomed in.
Del Arco. And then there was
Yes.
another DS9 panel with Chase, Nicole DeBoer. Was Penny Johnson Gerald there?
She was.
Yeah,
And
she
you know
was
what?
there.
I want to give her some credit. She confided in the crowd, and she really showed her vulnerability and her trust in everybody there by talking about just how terrified she was to be there. She said she has been getting COVID tested every day since the pandemic began.
Wow.
She has been in lockdown. She got the vaccination as soon as she could. And she was terrified to do this, but she said, if I don't do it, then the pandemic's going to beat me, and I've got to overcome this. So the level of, I think, fear and anxiety that she overcame to be on that panel is incredible, and I really applaud her for putting forth the effort to do that.
Yeah. Then there was another behind the scenes with Ronald. No, he wasn't there.
More.
Jerry Taylor was.
No,
He
he wasn't
wasn't
there.
Yeah, Jerry Taylor.
Jerry Taylor.
Then I finally got around and I made it to the 115 panel. Yay me. And then Enterprise. And that one, oh, you guys will talk about that. But Anthony Montgomery, Connor Trenier, Dominic Keating, and John Billingsley. Then we had the Voyager panel, Garrett Wong, Robert Beltran, Roxanne Dawson. And then there was the last Discovery panel, Anthony Rapp, Mary Wiseman, Noah Aberbach-Katz, Blue Del Barrio, and David Ajala. And we so have to talk about that panel because that's hilarious. And then at the end, there was the Rat Pack show closing out the convention, as they do every year. I've seen them multiple times. I had no energy by Saturday night, so I did not go. But
I want to bring up David Ajala real quick and just say that, on Sunday, like I said, we had the wedding we went to, we did the pool thing. Then I wanted to do a little bit of convention stuff in the afternoon. So I went back in and just went straight to the vendor's room, see what was on sale, whatever. And I didn't expect there to be a lot of people really in the vendor's room, because everybody's sort of clearing out. But there was this huge line that was wrapped around the room. I mean, like literally everybody in there was in a line. And I was like, who's this line for? And my partner and I, we walk around, we get towards the front, and I look over, and it's David Ajala. David Ajala took up the entire room signing autographs and whatnot.
Yes.
And I was just like, wow. I was like, I want to see him. I'd like his autograph. Maybe not this time.
But that line was forever. Yeah.
That line, yeah.
The last time I saw a line that long was for the TNG 30. And they had everyone line up for all the TNG actors for their autographs. And it went out the doors. Like, seriously.
Wow.
But that's exciting. Like, if the biggest draw was still TNG or DS9 or Voyager, I mean, we'd be in trouble. But, you know, with David Ajala being the biggest draw, that's good. That's a great indication for things that are current and in the future.
So can I tell my David Ajala story from the panel?
Please.
Paul, were you there?
You are the host.
Yes.
I was at the
my
panel.
gosh.
But I don't
It
remember.
was hilarious. So they turn it over to questions. And as was said, there's
okay, I know.
microphones on left and right. And so they're sitting there and there's the moderator there. And so, it was all of them, Mary Wiseman and stuff like that. And someone asks a question and David is intently looking over to the left. And the lady's still talking. And then she's like, and so my question is for you, David. And he's looking and looking and he's looking left. And she's like, David. And then it was on the other side of the stage. And she's like, I'm over here. And so everyone's like, David, we're over here on the right. Okay, we had a big laugh. He was embarrassed. It was his very first, major Trek convention outside of, premieres, but this is his first convention. And so it was funny. We all had a good laugh. I'm sure he was embarrassed, but he laughed it off just fine. Answered the question, go on. Not once, but twice. Again, David is intently looking at this person on the left. And it's the person on the right who was asking the question. So that became the big time joke. So then like a couple questions later, David, we're over here on the right. Oh my gosh, it was so funny and just so great of them to laugh it off. And, he laughed at himself.
Yes.
It was so funny.
He's a gorgeous, stunning
and
man.
When he said why he came was to thank us. Again, with this gratitude and, just understanding the fandom, even though he's been in one season and he got enveloped because of the Discovery crew, how amazingly tight and family-like they are, and then welcomed into this family of fandom. Like he was so gracious and was so thankful and appreciative of us. And I love it when the actors are like that.
Well, now I got to give him a hug.
And can I talk about Anthony Montgomery too?
Please.
The Enterprise panel. There's some people who, when get asked questions, can, like what we were saying, and like Mark, you were saying with Shatner, like is expounding and wanting to get to know the people. Like that was Anthony Montgomery. And to see him talking about human nature and the relationships that we have, just that higher level of discussion compared to the others on the panel was just a stark difference. And I was so appreciative of what Anthony did and how he relates Star Trek in his life, even though it's now been 20 years. Like, I love that. Like, Kate Mulgrew does exactly the same thing. It's always philosophical. It's always, how can we be a better person? Like Anthony Montgomery showed that to me in this panel, which I hadn't seen before. And he was very take charge. He was like, didn't even look at the moderator. You know what? We've talked enough. Let's get to these questions. And he took over. Like, I love that.
Love that.
Love
He
that. So
did.
new appreciation for Anthony.
And what I loved about what he did was he related things, exactly like you said, Amy. He took that question and related it to his life, his craft, how he's mastered his art form, and how he's still walking the walk. and not just talking the talk, and was able to bring that into faith and family and relationships and humanity. And that was really, really good. But you're right. He did take over moderating duties for that panel. And that was just fun to watch. To the point where at the end, he was like, all right, we're done here. We're out of time.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was reminiscent of Marina, and it was very nice. All righty. Well, I wanted to know, you came to Las Vegas. What were your extracurricular activities? Did you go off campus? Oh, that's a school term. Did you go off site, go see other casinos? Real quick rundown. Did you do any shows or restaurants, different casinos? Mark, let's start with you.
Okay, so Sunday night was probably the night that we stayed up the latest, and we did the most stuff. We went out around time sun was setting, and we decided, everybody's like, oh, you can't walk from the Rio to the Strip. It's just too hot. You really shouldn't. You shouldn't do that. But my partner and I were like, it looks pretty close by. I think we can walk over there. And so we did.
Yeah, caution. Everything in Vegas looks a lot closer than it is.
But I mean, it wasn't that bad. Like, it was okay. We walked over there, and we walked down the Strip. And of course, we did like the free stuff, like the fountains at Bellagio. We watched that for a little bit. And we went into, like Caesars and whatnot, and just poked our heads around some of the other casinos to see what, Vegas had to offer, and really enjoyed that, just sort of like doing the touristy thing after the convention was over, and really had a great time. Yeah.
Sunday, we actually went out to a dinner. We were invited to dinner at this sushi restaurant in Caesar's Palace.
At where?
Caesar's.
Sushi Roku.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sushi
yeah.
Roku.
Caesar's. Okay.
Caesars.
Yeah.
Right.
Caesars.
Yeah. Which we should have walked to.
Yeah.
But a certain pack lid couldn't find the Uber driver.
Yeah, there was just a different
Yes,
Uber pickup.
There is
in the,
always.
We want to go.
Hotel. It was on
Can
the
you
other
make
side
us
of the
go?
hotel, and we were waiting on the other side.
Yes. Where do we go? And then we get to Caesars, and it's like, where do we go now?
I know, because the Uber drop off and pickup
was...
are completely different. And so they drop you off and you're like, where do I go? No, I understand.
That was like the one time I left the Rio. And then we ended up back at the Masquerade Bar.
Well, I went, so yeah, it's so wonderful. Why I love STLV is because I feel like in my headcanon, everyone comes to visit me. And when everyone comes to visit, then we get to do things, and I get to be touristy Amy as well. So the Sunday before the convention, group of friends, we always do like a really nice dinner and a show. And so this year we went to Sinatra's, which is in Encore. And then we went to see the O at Bellagio. And I had never seen the O Cirque du Soleil show. Absolutely loved it. Would recommend it. And Sinatra was really, really good food. I also did the Mob Museum. I mean, of course, I've done that a lot, but, went with some other friends for the Mob Museum. Went to dinner at the Link area with the big high roller. Was supposed to ride the high roller after dinner, but I was so exhausted after teaching. This was my first week. I had to be on with my students, and I had to bow out. So I missed the high roller, which was sad because I really enjoy that. But those were my off-campus activities.
I think I spent most of the time at the Masquerade Bar.
Yeah.
Every night. That was the hangout, the spot, and it was right conveniently located at the base of the Masquerade Towers elevators. So very convenient.
I did nothing. I got in at 9:30, 9:45 on Saturday morning, and didn't see outside again until I was leaving on Monday morning. So any extracurriculars, I think, consisted of the Masquerade Bar, and that's it. About 4 hours of sleep on Saturday night was about all I got.
I didn't have one drink at the iBar.
Wow.
which is really surprising. I was sad.
I thought you texted me from the iBar, Amy.
I had
Yeah,
one.
Well,
That's
I
what-
was meeting people from the iBar, but it was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where John Champion and some of the Michelin people were.
Yeah.
Meeting
Which
up.
again, thank you, Paul, for letting me know about that meetup.
No
'cause-
problem.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we are coming up on the close of our discussion. So I'm going to ask some quick questions. Would you recommend others to attend a Trek convention?
In a heartbeat.
100%.
Percent.
Are you planning to attend Chicago?
Only if you're going.
I'm there. My mom lives there, so I got no excuse not to go.
Yeah, seriously, it's about 4 hours up the road from me, so even less than that. And I've got a daughter starting college in Chicago this fall, so it'll be a
There
good
you
excuse
go.
for me to go up there.
Mark?
What a coincidence.
You're not going to roll me into this one. my
Chicago's so
Mark.
much closer.
my birthday's in February, and typically the end of February, beginning of March-ish. When it's not a pandemic, typically I go down to Mexico, and this year is a big birthday. And so I'm definitely going to make sure I'm going anyway, going to end up in Mexico. So I'll be spending a lot of money on that. Not sure how much I'll have left over for the cons if they're in the spring, but it would be lovely if I could go. And I will definitely be going to another one.
Ria, you're going to Chicago, right? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, all right.
heck yeah, I'm
So-
going to Chicago. Yeah.
So
God
will
willing.
you return to Creations Convention next year? And those dates, write this down, listeners, so that you can join me August 25th through the 28th, 2022. It will no longer be at the Rio Hotel and Casino. It's moving to Bally's Hotel and Casino. So yes.
And it will be over my birthday, which normally I spend with my family because we all have birthdays the same week. But I am going to take one for the team, Mark, and God willing, be at Bally's.
Awesome. Mike,
Oh, I'll be there.
Paul?
Not sure. I would love to, but we'll see if we can make it work.
2 questions.
I spent
Okay.
it was a huge investment to go this year.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes, on my end.
Yes, for Mark. All right.
I'll share my birthday wish list with all of you.
Yeah, and it's later in the year for me, so I won't be my first week of school, and I will actually be able to get a substitute. So I will be there full force. If you thought this was me, no. Yeah. Mike?
I'm not sure when this episode is going to drop, but probably close, it sounds like, to Ria's birthday. So happy early or actual birthday, depending on the timing of when people are listening to this.
Yes.
Well, thank you very
happy
much.
birthday.
Yay, thank you.
Happy birthday, Ria.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, do you guys have any final thoughts before we do our closing?
Just thank you for asking me to commit to this a couple of years ago. I kind of did it in jest, and then as it got closer, I was like, I really need to do this. And then what really put me over the top was Paul and another group of friends that I've made in the Star Trek community that were, bouncing around some messages on Friday night. And I was like, what am I doing? I just had my weekend clear up. I've got to get out there, and I'm so glad I did. So glad. So thank you, Paul.
We're glad you did.
And thank you to the folks that I met out there that just, really, really just genuinely welcomed me into their group. It gave me an opportunity to have the time of my life with people that were just accepting and very open and very diverse and very, everybody's just trying to move the needle just a little bit. Like, how can we treat each other better? How can we be better people? How can we evolve as a species? We didn't really touch a whole lot on the 100th birthday of Gene Roddenberry, but just being surrounded by all those Gene Roddenberry quotes and that philosophy of, diversity and inclusion and being accepting of each other, and just flat out, we're not going to make it to the next level unless we can learn how to get along with each other, was such a big part of this convention. And I think that had a lot to do with the themes that we were talking, the themes of thankfulness and grace and welcoming. And those are my parting thoughts. I was not ready for any of this. It was overwhelming and just exceeded my expectations in every possible way.
I think Mike covered it all. I mean, like I said, it was everybody was very accepting, and it was just an awesome time.
Yeah, that's pretty tough to follow. I will say though that my partner and I both watch Star Trek. I'm a little bit bigger of a fan of Star Trek than he is, but I went into this kind of wondering what type of experience he would have coming along with me on this trip, and it was really great to see that he had a really good time. Met a lot of good people there as well. Had a lot of fun. I think he ended up having the time of his life as well. So it's even if you're new to Trek and you're just starting to get into it, it's this is something for you as well. It's such a positive experience.
It's so cool to hear you guys say that, because that's basically was my experience the first time. Didn't really know what to expect, except that Amy made it sound like fun, and but I was just blown away by how just loving and non-judgmental everyone was, and especially in this day and age when people are just trying to forcefully shove their views down each other's throats. Instead of preaching and soapboxing, people were living it. People were genuinely showing gratitude and affection and acceptance and love, and it was awesome.
Agreed. Oh.
Incoming transmission.
Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on today's show and hope you'll join the Facebook group, Federation Council Chambers. You're welcome to start conversations with us or add any general Star Trek info you want to share with the group.
If you'd like to send us an email, you can email us directly at galaxyclass@ufp.earth, and we just might definitely will read your email on the show. You can also follow us on Twitter, if you have Twitter, at Galaxy Class Pod.
Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching United Federation of Podcasts. That way you won't miss any of our fine shows, like All Good Things, Franchise Fatigue, Always Hold On to Arrow, History with the Szilagys, Mickey's Marvels, Sasquatch, and Infinite Diversity. So, Ria, where can people find you when you're not belittling Walter because he's a Yankees fan?
Well, when someone who chooses to wear Yankees paraphernalia in public gets what he asks,
it's fair game, right?
Very true. And you know what? He's a grown adult and
so precious, so cute.
And so precious. When I'm not, striking at the heart of precious older men, you can find me in the Federation Council Chambers. You can also find me on Galaxy Class. You can find me.
Where's your email?
Doing yard work. Oh, I have an email. That's right. You can send me a personal email at riapod47@gmail.com. That's RIAPOD47@gmail.com. And you will not find me on Instagram or Twitter or MySpace or whatever else.
Oh my gosh, Ria. MySpace.
Is it still around?
It's not still around. This is why we love our pack-led Ria.
This is why the pack-led Ria needs a babysitter.
We take good care of you.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And thank you all for pack-led sitting over the weekend. So, Amy, where can people find you when you are not fangirling over
everyone?
Rick Sternbach.
Oh, yes. And David Ajala and Anthony Montgomery and Sir Rock Lofton. And okay.
Yeah.
So you can find me here on the network sometimes, maybe in the future, where I'm supposedly hosting All Good Things. And I promise I'm I'm working on it. I promise. You can find me also talking about the Orville on Union Federation. You can find me on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, and of course in our Facebook group.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Sorry.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/UFP Earth to get all the details.
We would like to recognize our executive producers, Brandon Shea Mutala, Ken Tripp, Zach Moore, and Tony Robinson. We would also like to thank Zach Tripp for our opening and closing music, and Tony Robinson for giving us the awesome artwork each and every week.
Thank you for beaming aboard Galaxy Class. And until next time,
what goes in Vegas stays in Vegas. Stay classy, Galaxy.
Great joy and gratitude.
Engage.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.